Decoding Rumi's Masnavi by Pirjan. Part 1. The Merchant and the Parrot. The present discussion deals with death and its relation to love. In Rumi's mysticism, the most important step in joining the existential truth of humanity is death. Mystics consider the core of everything to be the death of which human is ignorant. Nothing changes until the human's death. In the 6th book of the Masnavi, we read the following lines. You have suffered much agony, but you are still in the veil, because dying to self was the fundamental principle, and you have not fulfilled it. Your agony is not finished till you die. You cannot reach the roof without completing the ladder. Not such a death that you will go into a grave, but a death consisting of spiritual transformation, so that you will go into a light. When a man grows up, his childhood dies. When a man becomes a fair-complexioned Greek, he washes out the dye of the Ethiopian. Of course, they do not mean physical death, but a conversion of light. Here is the story and its relations to the present discussion. The story of the merchant to whom the parrot gave a message for the parrots of India on the occasion of his going to trade. There was a merchant, and he had a parrot imprisoned in a cage, a pretty parrot. When the merchant made ready for travel and was about to depart to India, because of his generosity, he said to each male slave and each handmaid, "What shall I bring home for you? Tell me quickly." Each one asked him for some object of desire. That good man gave his promise to them all. He said to the parrot, "What present would you like me to bring for you from the land of India?" The parrot said, "When thou seest the parrots there, explain my plight and say, such and such a parrot, who is longing for you, is in my prison by the destiny of heaven. She salutes you and asks for justice and desires to learn from you the means and ways of being rightly guided. She says, is it meet that I, in yearning, should give up the ghost and die here in separation? Is it right that I should be in grievous bondage, while ye are now on green plants, now on trees? The faith kept, my friends, is it like this? I in prison, and ye in the rose garden. O ye noble ones, call to mind this piteous bird, a morning-draught amongst the meadows. Happy it is for a friend to be remembered by friends, in particular when that beloved is Laylá and this lover Majnún. O ye who consort with your charming and adored one, am I to be drinking cups filled with my own blood? O thou who art my beloved, quaff one cup of wine in memory of me, if thou desirest to do me justice, or at least, when thou hast drank, spill one draught on the earth in memory of this fallen one who sifts dust. Oh, where, I wonder, is that covenant and oath? Where are the promises of that lip like candy? If thy having forsaken thy slave is because of his ill service to thee, when thou does it ill to the ill-doer, then what is the difference between master and slave? Oh, the ill thou doest in wrath and quarrel is more delightful than music in the sound of the harp. Oh, thy cruelty is better than felicity, and thy vengeance dearer than life. This is thy fire, how what must be thy light? This is thy mourning, so how what indeed must be thy festival? In respect of the sweetness which thy cruelty hath, and in respect of thy beauty, no one gets to the bottom of thee. I complain, and yet I fear lest he believe me, and from kindness make that cruelty less. I am exceedingly enamored of his violence and his gentleness. 'Tis marvelous that I am in love with both of these contraries. By God, if I escape from this thorn of sorrow, and enter the garden of joy, because of this I shall begin to moan like the nightingale. This is a wondrous nightingale that opens his mouth to eat thorns and roses together. What nightingale is this? Nay, 'tis a fiery monster. Because of his love, all unsweet things are sweetness to him. He is a lover of the universal, and he himself is the universal. He is in love with himself and seeking his own love. Understanding some issues is accompanied by internal challenges. There is also no intimacy without communication with people or thoughts. But if there is empathy, there can also be an intimate relationship without words. Usually, people listen to others with resistance and reluctantly, and remain behind the walls of prejudice. We cannot grasp the truth of when we listen with prejudice because we are judgmental. In mysticism, it is recommended that intelligence be the light of humanity's course. But what is intelligence? Intelligence is not a common sense or ordinary experience. The wall of resistance prevents a full understanding of the subject. Our understanding is impaired when seeking justification or condemnation. When human confronts reality as it is, without the interference of judgments, this will be the beginning of intelligence. When we observe something as it is, we can understand it within a moment. It requires a flexible heart and a creative mind to understand reality without prejudice. All human misery throughout history is due to not confronting reality and not accepting the truth. Another point in the verses is that in response to the promises Rumi receives, he believes that everything is beautiful and all is sweet. In life and dealing with the world of being and society, there are 5 senses that we use. But our effects, on the one hand, have made life easier and harder on the other. Some things have brought convenience, but they are also bothering us. The sciences have advanced a lot, but has human progressed in humanity as well? The world is full of violence and the captivity of senses. It has to be said that in many respects, human has fallen behind. Rumi and Iranian mysticism advise human not to look for thought and not to be captured by it. However, everything is under control of the human mind. If a human being is captured by the 5 senses, they must seek a window, an opening, to a safe and secure life. Every human being in life has the experience of being in the grip of death, while having the power, thought, and logic, but something has saved them. We have been trapped many times, but something has saved us from it. They all have the experience of love, and are helped by something beyond logic. So many dreams come true for us. These are the windows and openings beyond thought. These kinds of perceptions should not be considered an illusion or a chance. Thus, there is something inside us that comes to our aid. Neither should inner perceptions be underestimated, nor should we lie to ourselves. Understanding this window means putting intelligence in front of our course. Intelligence is to face reality as it is, without justifying or judging it. Human is always judging and analyzing what is dealt with, and labeling it as good or evil. Human understanding in mysticism must be a passive one, not active. This understanding is called love. Passive understanding occurs when the human is an observer and only observes without interfering with or labeling things. The beginning of intelligence comes from such activity in humans. The human being must be united with the tree they observe and have no judgment or analysis of it. This is the beginning of the enlightenment and making intelligence powerful from within. This is the nowhere window. When the judgments go away over time, the curtains are also removed and superior wisdom is created. Try to spend a few minutes each day observing the creatures in nature and being without judgment. Thus, intelligence is to observe reality without the interference of thought, but it is not at all an easy task. One of the most important recommendations of Rumi is to return to the windows we all experience. To understand the truth of any phenomenon, we need to have a very quick and flexible heart, because self-knowledge exercises show that everything in the world is changing, and the truth of each phenomenon can be understood only in a single moment. What helps us stay on the path of mysticism and self-knowledge is the practice of non-judgment, both in human relations and in nature. In all stories, it is clear that human is on one side and the problems on the other. We always try to hide behind such security systems as religion, money, and education based on thought. We suppose these systems can handle problems, but they do not prevent suicide, addiction, or depression. When we take refuge in the system religion, we do not realize that it is the system that is making decisions for us and making itself part of us. No religious or non-religious system has been able to solve human problems for thousands of years. Rumi says these systems cannot save human beings, and that one must learn to follow the flow of inner thought. The holy scripts and secular ones are not capable of solving human problems. Even if we hear something that is opposed to our beliefs, we must abandon the resistance and pay attention to it impartially. When one observes life and its courses objectively, one begins to develop abilities called intelligence, distinguishing between good and evil without accumulating knowledge. In the present story, the merchant symbolizes the kind of human who, with the thought of an accountant, pursues their interests. The parrot is the inner psyche and pure nature of humans, desiring to open the cage and break free. India is the symbol of the pure land of great ones who have come to self-knowledge. In the discussion of consciousness, sometimes words cannot work, and the Indian parrots quietly convey their messages to the imprisoned parrot. Often we seek pleasure and assume it as our immediate purpose, but sometimes what we consider to be unpleasant may be desirable. If we all truly love someone and that person dies, the objective conditions are death, separation, and sorrow. Yet in this case, if we observe ourselves deeply, we may become artists, poets, or musicians. So, whatever we lose in life, we gain something else instead. It is enough to observe these conditions in a time of sorrow, without the interference of emotions and thoughts. Description of the wings of the birds that are divine intelligences. Such like is the tail of the parrot, which is the soul. Where is that one who is the confidant of spiritual birds? Where is a bird, weak and innocent, and within him Solomon with all his host? When he moans bitterly, without thanksgiving or complaint, a noise of tumult falls on the 7 spheres of heaven. At every moment there come to him from God 100 missives, 100 couriers. From him one cry of, "O my Lord," and from God 100 cries of, "Labbaika." In the sight of God, his backsliding is better than obedience. Beside his infidelity, all faiths are tattered. Every moment he hath an ascension to God, peculiar to himself. God lays upon his crown 100 peculiar crowns. His form is on earth, and his spirit in no place, a no place beyond the imagination of travelers. Not such a no place that it should come into thy understanding, or that a fancy about it should be born in thee every moment. Nay, place and no place are in his control, just as the 4 rivers are in the control of one who dwells in paradise. Cut short the explanation of this and avert thy face from it. Do not breathe a word, and God knows best what is right. We return from this matter, O friends, to the bird and the merchant in India. The merchant accepted this message and promised that he would convey the greeting from her to her congeners. The human being looks onward and does not look backward. While riding a camel, Majnún realized that the camel was worried about its child and was looking backward. He changed the camel. Those who assume mysticism as related to religions should understand this poem and see that Thanksgiving has nothing to do with the mystics. If you are not a flatterer, you will surely be answered by the universe, and this is a valid guarantee. If a person takes action, they will surely succeed. It is at this stage that intelligence flourishes and rises at every moment and contributes to consciousness. It is here that one may live a normal life like others, but one's psyche has become lightened and aware. It is here that human gives up judgment and the inner thought develops.